Hey guys, I don't know if anyone's on yet. I just went live. Hopefully it will show me. Ah, there, now it's showing me going live. Um, Today we are doing chapters 19 and 20 of Empire of Stars live reading, plus questions from you guys on whatever you want to ask. Hey Kelly, we're going to. Hey Marina, hey Greg. We're going to not go live until at least a few minutes after 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, so everybody gets a chance to settle in, grab your drinks, your snacks, think about your questions, say hello to everybody. I just like being up early because, technical issues have happened. I used to be able to. I just turned something on. Let's hope that doesn't fuck things up. Hey Annie. Hey Lurleen. Hey Pam. Hi Melissa. Hey Alec. Um, hi Myra. Hey Marina. Hey Lo. Oh, Alec, I did see your message, but I replied to you on the comment regarding the discussion of an afterlife as our two intrepid heroes sneak through ductwork, or what they think is ductwork, which isn't really ductwork, as we know. Kelly says she's on the phone, but she hopes to hop on the laptop soon. Great. I can't wait. Marina says, oh, good. I got to make coffee. Raythe. Someone crack Raythe the Diet Coke. Yes, I feel very betrayed recently by my local shopping centers. They have only had Coke Zero. Luckily, my brother went and got me Diet Coke. Coke Zero is not the same. Hey, Myra. She says hello to everybody. Um, Marina says to Kelly, amen about hopping on the laptop soon. I know it's sort of easier. Sophie, you made it. How is your grandma? I hope she's doing well. Sophie didn't think she was going to be able to make it today because of a visit with awesome. Both my grandmothers are deceased. Crystal says hello. I made it. Yay! Don't worry, we still have time yet before everything starts. Pam says, I just finished reading the first book of Cinders and Ashes, and God, Raythe, it is so good. I so want to read the next book. I thank you, Pam. I am very proud of this book. I feel like my writing went up a notch. You know, sometimes when you're doing your art and suddenly it's like you have this, like, just you're just up. It took a lot of time to do the first few chapters. To be honest, it took. I know this sounds crazy for me, but it took like several sessions, hours long, to get those really tight, to really get the characters right and the world building right, so it was showing, not telling, and yet you would get the sense of what this world was like. Um, I am already on book 2, and I have hired a studio. There's an English guy that is going to be doing the audio work. It will not be done until December. That's how good I think he is. He honestly blew me away. I had my mom and my older brother listen to it, his work, and and you're going to hear some of it too. Just his audition at some point. Not today, but you will. He makes me like realize like, wow, audiobook reading is an art. Sophie says, I love Cinders and Ashes. Oh my God. But no spoilers. I haven't finished it yet. No spoilers. I won't. Because remember, other than members, and I know we have some non members on, you guys are the only ones who can read it. It's not up on Amazon until August 20th. You are the first. Um, I'm thrilled with it. I've started already writing the second book, which I normally give myself a chance to recover, but I really do want to read more, or like write more of it. So Alex says, cool, awesome. I love the philosophy in your stories. He is referring to a conversation between Jace and Khoth in the last chapter that was up regarding the afterlife. Jace has been thoroughly shaken by what he's seen and wants to believe that there is something more because of what he sees as the wholesale loss of life. and he very feels very strong about that. Kelly says yes, no spoilers, and I know I won't. I know I am terrible about that. I am terrible about that, but I won't, because this is very important. That it's an incredibly complex book. The world is complex, and you guys members will understand when I say that there's a lot of politics, and that may sound like really boring to other people, but it's not. It's really about life and death and who we are and what we're doing and all that kind of stuff. Sophie says, my grandma is great, thanks. She's watching TV right now. Oh, that's so cute. I'm so glad she's great. I miss mine terribly. My mom's mom, especially. She was amazing. At 19, she drove cross country by herself, when for women, having a license, let alone driving cross country by oneself, to set up a life was not even heard of. And she was an amazing woman. Marina says, I'm really excited for the audiobook version of Cinders and Ashes. So much love. Yes. And like I said, the gentleman who is going to be doing it, Edward Fox, works for I guess you call it a studio, and they're just incredibly professional, incredibly, I don't know, those of you who read audiobooks or listen to audiobooks, the difference between somebody who is a classically trained actor, who has a director and a proofreader helping them, versus somebody who's just like doing it on the fly. And then of course there's me, which is the total lowest level. Yeah, like I was just blown away that he got the characters. And what really appealed to me, and what I try to do, and I'm not terribly successful all the time, outside of the dialogue, he would actually know the emphasis of those descriptive paragraphs. He would do the right pauses. He would give the right inflection. He would make it like exciting. So we're gonna hear from his auditions. The company said that was totally fine. Lurlene says, love Cinders and Ashes. Cannot wait for the next book. I am so glad. I will be asking you guys once it's up on Amazon to please give it some review love there, because I want other people to have faith that they can come into this book and they will enjoy it. It's just, I love high fantasy, and I'm getting the chance to do sort of high dark fantasy with the Fae, and this has been just so much fun. Kat says, spoiler, it contains a cliffhanger. It ends in a cliffhanger. Yes, it does. It ends in a huge cliffhanger, but it's the right place to end. Although that's another reason I sort of need you guys to do reviews, because I know there will be readers that will be like, 1-star cliffhanger, even though it's really good. Alex says, Kitty, shocking. Yeah, Alec, come on. I know. But it actually is like 53,000 words, very solid story. I think it leads to where it needs to lead to. Those of you who read it though, you should tell me, but no spoilers, please. Crystal says, I'm so excited. I actually prepared for this. I have pot roast with potatoes and carrots in the crock pot, and a cheesecake with strawberry topping in the fridge. Oh my God, that sounds amazingly good. It sounds so good. I had an old Jimmy John's sandwich from last night. Not as good. Sophie says, yes, I'm going to need the second book of Cinder and Ashes very soon. I only have like 2 chapters left to read, I think. Oh my gosh. Who was your favorite character on this? I mean, it could be, I guess, Finn or Rohan, but was it one of the side characters? No one will be surprised that I am both partial to Christopher and Sergio. I love all of them, but those are 2 that I really enjoy. Sergio is going to be our comic relief. Shaylina says, I'm here. Hello, my dear. Telto's Matt says, huge cliffhanger. Huge. Typical. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I know. But I do warn in the description that it ends at cliffhangers. I don't want people to Marina says you're so sad she missed out on the opportunity to edit. Yeah, why didn't you email me? Did you email me? I didn't see your email. I was looking for your email to have you do it. Because in all honesty, I do not know your email from your username. So if you sent it in and I missed it, I am so sorry. You did such a good job before, and I really think it's a good thing. All of the proofreaders did a very lovely job. But I know that there's a few whom I try to always bring in if I can. Shaylina says, I still have to download my copy of Cinders and Ashes, but need my husband's help since I want to get it on Kindle and it's tricky to get it on it. You can also contact Jeremy. If for some reason your husband cannot, we could also email it to you if that's easier. It's only up until the 20th. So make sure that you do that before the 20th because that's when it goes on Amazon and that's when we can't give it away anymore. Pam says, I think it's a great cliffhanger. Well, thank you, Pam. You're my favorite now. My favorite of all the members. Tara says, hi, Raythe. Hi, Tara. Myra says, ugh, I'm having issues with my bone conduction earphones. Why? Oh, no, not now. Marina says, I emailed, but it was 3 hours late. I have such bad reception on the ship. Oh, darn it. I must have really, Marina says it was tragic. It was tragic. I just think, you know what? Email me now, and I'm going to tuck your name into a document so that I have it. So that if you can do it, that's great. I really try to give as many people as I can an opportunity, but there are some people who are very good at, honestly, consistency, which is huge because you know what? You can be wrong about something in a book, but so long as you're wrong consistently throughout, most people will not think it's a typo. But if you have it done one way, then another way, even if it's legit to do it both ways, they will be like really annoyed. Saya says, good evening or early morning from Japan. Slowly melting away from here. So happy for the reading tonight. Totally forgot about it at first. Well, I'm so glad you're here as well, Saya. I always am amazed that you're here at like 4 a.m. Delta's Matt says, we'll return. Have to pick up the cat from the groomers. We'll be back. Oh my God, you take your cat to the groomers? Well, if you have a long-haired cat. All right, Matt. I'm looking forward to you coming back. Marina says, I will email you. Yes, Marina, do that. Sophie says, I'm actually very fond of Christopher. He's one of the stepbrothers in Cinders and Ashes. He's a terrible human being, but a great scientist. I was so proud that he labels all his vials with a date. As a scientist myself, I know this is very important. I always regret it when I don't put the date on my tubes in my lab. That is so cool. Like, I think I knew you were a scientist. But, I mean, we have so many incredible people with incredible lives on the membership. It's just spectacular. He is a great scientist. He actually was sort of based on a story I heard about the guy who discovered how we can do DNA typing and that, for criminalistics, where he used to actually pick up dead animals and do necropsies on them. And, some people would have thought he was a serial killer himself, but he was not. He was just really into science and really wanted to understand things. So that's sort of what Christopher is. But the thing is, does he go the wrong way? Because I do think he's sociopathic. I do. Hannah says, thanks so much for Cinders and Ashes. Love the word choices like necrosis instead of autopsy. I admit I had to look up necrosis and a few other words and was happy to learn them. Yes, I'm having a little fun with my lawyer brain. Marina says the Raythe Gmail account. That is correct, Marina. Yes, send that to the Raythe Range Gmail account. And those of you who worry that by me saying yes to Marina right now, that eliminates a spot for you, it does not. I have my regulars and then I bring in as many as I normally do. And then you too can become regular. Because in all honesty, no matter how many people I have go through it, they're still missing stuff. And sometimes I've added stuff after they've done it, which has been a mistake. Olivia says, made it. Shaylina says, I will make sure to get it today or tomorrow. I've been itching to read it for months, but just saw email yesterday and been too busy to get my husband's help. Okay, good. I just don't want people to miss it. I actually had somebody, a longtime member, and I felt terrible. They were not receiving emails, and we've had that issue. Please contact Jeremy if you are not. And she did not. She's like, I missed all these books, and I was like, oh no. Great, Marina, excellent. And I want to make sure everybody gets them. But really, like Facebook, Twitter, and it's hard. Joe says, waves excitedly and then returns to work. I get you, Joe. All right, so we are now 2:07 after the hour, so I think it's pretty safe. Shaylina says she's working again, so I'm like, oh, that's all right. Works on the stream, but that's okay. Remember, this is actually recorded and will be placed up on FB so that you can listen to it later. If you miss some or all of it, does not matter. I will be doing 2 chapters today, chapters 19 and 20 of Empire of Stars, which is a gay sci-fi serial for those of you who do not know. I will be breaking them into 2 or 3 parts. If you have questions, you may ask them in the comments. I will go back in between the sections and answer questions. So get them ready if you have any thoughts, comments, whatever is great. I love hearing all of it. But now I think we should start because we got a lot of exciting things going on here. Okay. Chapter 19. Alive. Jace let out a laugh that ended in a wheeze as the hard exosuit cinched over his thin-skin undersuit. It reminded him of the Mass Effect armor mixed with the cool retractable helmet of the Lost in Space movie from 1998. "Can you breathe?" his mother asked as she moved her hands over the hard material. "I imagine this is sort of like a corset," Jace said. "No, Jace. If this was a corset, you would be asking to sit down," his mother said with a twitch of a smile. "There were fainting couches back in the day for a reason." The suit suddenly adjusted, easing off his chest, and Jace could draw in a deep breath. "Ah, it's better. I don't know what changed." "You complained," the Osiris responded. He blinked and then laughed. When his mother looked up at him, he explained, "Osiris told a joke." "Well, I think it was a joke. It seems it controls even the suits." His mother blinked. "It controls the suits?" It made it looser." Jace gestured to the white suit with the green markings along the sides. It pretty much matched his undersuit. "That's a lot of power, Jace," she said suddenly and glanced over her shoulder, looking to see if anyone overheard them. "More than we had any idea it could have." They were alone in one of the armory rooms, away from the others while he dressed. Khoth was also upgrading his suit, but he wasn't with a wholly friendly audience. The general was watching that Khoth didn't take anything more than the suit and weapons that the Osiris offered. Jace was pretty sure that the general would have preferred he take nothing, but that wasn't going to happen. A screen had appeared with chairs in the armory for the others to watch them when they entered the cool ship. He and Khoth and Gehenna would be taken out to the ship by soldiers in a jeep. The others would stay behind, safe, sound. Osiris had frosted the glass walls in this room to give them privacy. Of course, Jace had no idea such a thing could occur. One of so many things. They were solid white now and glowed softly. His mother looked back at him and gave out a soft laugh. "You look good, honey. Like some space marine," she said. "Just like we always dreamed." Jace grinned. "Do I?" He struck a pose with hands on hips and chin lifted. She laughed and then shook her head. "I can't believe you're—" Her expression crumpled for a minute. "Well, you look so well." She cupped his cheek and her eyes were wet with tears. She rarely cried. She was cast iron in a lot of ways. She had to be in order to run this facility. And now, when he knew what she really did, he was amazed at the weight of it on her shoulders. 1 second, guys. I just realized there was a bit of a big typo there. "It's okay, Mom. I'm okay. I'm better than that. She hugged him fiercely. Her expression was pressed against the right side of his head. She spoke with an almost desperation that she had been holding back before. "I kept you away from the Osiris because of what happened here before you were born, but now I think... Jace, I think... Did you suffer all this time needlessly?" Jace swallowed. He probably had. The Osiris would have helped him when he was a boy. All those days and nights of pain, the migraines that kept him imprisoned in darkness, the tinnitus that had been like a drill in his head, making it impossible to concentrate on anything, the auras that had blinded him and had him backing away from the light, the thought that he could have had this years ago, that they wouldn't just be discovering the armory on the day the Cool came to kill them. But that was all 2020, and it was the past. There was no changing it, and there was too much good now to dwell on it. He was a freaking space marine. Mom, you didn't know. You thought you were protecting me, he told her as he pulled back from her embrace so that they were eye to eye. I can't quite believe it's real, she told him as she smoothed her hands over his head. Me neither. I don't even know. This body hardly feels like mine, and it feels so right, too, he told her. The grin that seemed to be lurking behind every word since he had transformed came out as he realized that he was well, and more than that, he was athletic, and he'd never been able to count on his body for his life. But now he could use a laser sword against Khoth, Khoth, who was superior and could balance on one finger like a champ. He used a laser rifle like a champ. He could control an entire spaceship with his mind. There were two AIs at his beck and call. No, you are the pilot, Osiris whispered. Yeah, so I, pilot you, Jace pointed out. So long as you are on mission, Osiris answered, and Jace felt it drift away from him and knew he wouldn't get it to answer anything more. If this mission is about saving humanity and stopping the Cool, I'm on board with that, Jace thought. He focused on his mother again. Does the president know about this place and the aliens and stuff? She gave him a wry look. Now, there might be some presidents that you would want to know about this, but all of them? Think of their temperament. Yeah, I can see why you wouldn't want all of them to know, but that means there's really a deep state? Not like the conspiracy theorists think, but there are people in the government and private sector who know and have passed that knowledge down to others who are deemed fit to know. Money from blackback projects fund us, she explained. Seeing something in his face, she said, It's been controversial that we're not out in the open. People would love to know this, that they're not alone, he said. This will sound trite, and you've heard it many times, but people are dumb, reactive creatures that fear what they don't understand, she said with a sad smile. Individuals are smart and open-minded and eager for something new. We couldn't allow politics and fear to run this place, Jace. It was, and is, too dangerous. Jace nodded after a moment. I understand, but this can't stay secret any longer, I don't think. She drew in a deep breath. Yes, we have a contingency plan for that. It is already starting. Jace didn't know he felt relieved or worried. The more people who knew, the more people would want to control what he did, would want to examine it, experiment on him. I will not let them, Osiris said. Jace's eyes opened. You won't. They would impede the mission. What's the mission? I didn't get a chance to ask you before, Jace said. I will keep you safe, Osiris said, and then submerged again. His mother hadn't noticed his inattention, but perhaps, like had been the case when he was speaking to Gehenna, time slowed, and for her it had been less than a second. Sorry, this is her. I was thinking about what happened to you earlier when you fought Khoth, she said. Yeah, what about it? Jace didn't like thinking about what had happened. It had been low blood sugar and lack of hydration, but it had scared him, and it had put him back to where he had been. He never wanted to go back. Never. Your new body needs more calories to operate, more hydration, and likely more sleep, too. You, need to be more cognizant of that, she said. Hold on, Diet Coke sipping. He nodded. Yeah, you're right. I need to be more careful. I'm sure that Khoth will have some space paste. He shuddered. His mother laughed. Don't. Your poor father was so sick, she said. He grinned. Is all alien food like that? No, some of it is quite good. There's this fruit that is similar to grapes, but they're this rich blue and they taste like a mixture of raspberries and bananas. They're delicious, his mother said with a smile at the memory. The Alliance won't share much with us, but they have shared their food. And clearly, Thalma has loved ours, Jace grinned. That is a woman after my own heart, his mother said. Her love of Slim Jims is second only to yours. Khoth played food cop and threw one away. Jace sounded absolutely outraged to his own ears. Yes, well, he probably saved you from yourself, she said, and ran her hands over his arms. She became sober again. There's so much we don't know, Jace. There's so much that's going to happen. I know. He rolled his shoulders back. A lot is at stake. Yes, yes. She nodded, looking overwhelmed for a moment before she pulled herself together. Her eyes focused on his. The desire to shield you is so strong. But I know that you're so much smarter than I was at your age. Everything you've gone through, in a way, it's made you a prime candidate for this. You think deeply, Jace. You see people and their motivations. You're brave and kind. Mom, he grew uncomfortable with her compliments. I don't give compliments easily or often, Jace, and I'm not just saying this as your mother, because I have to be more than your mother, and you have to be more than your son. I think that's a good part of you, and there's a good part of you and me. It's why I'm not freaking out. Well, not freaking out much. He grinned and shrugged. She chuckled and nodded. I'm sure in a week we'll freak out for real, but for right now we need to keep together. Right. I can do that, he said. I know you will. She embraced him once more, and that was when he saw Khoth in the doorway, with Gehenna hovering behind him with Dama. His exosuit was similar to Jace's, mostly white with blue on the sides and patterned across the front. His long hair hung up over the shoulders of his suit. The beads in his hair clicked together. His blue-on-blue eyes met Jace's. It was time. Okay, I think we're going to take a little break here, because this is a long chapter. Give me a chance to drink more Diet Coke and let me look at your comments. Okay. So Marina says, this was a little thing that bothered me. Choristry and tight lacing practices are two different things. But it makes sense because Jace and his mom wouldn't know that. It actually makes sense because I didn't know that. You'd have to explain that to me because I'm sure I completely don't understand. But those who actually have worn corsets now and they know what to do about it, it's really, really good. And interesting stuff. I see a lot of that at the Renaissance fairs, which I was just telling Kat, that's one of the big things I've missed about the summer. Just going to enjoy that. So Shaylana says she's taking a lunch break, so hopefully I'll be able to listen. Leftover meatloaf with mashed potatoes along with leftover spam, sauteed onions over white rice. Nice. Marina agrees. She says freaking yum. Aniko says hello. Hello, my friend. Alex says vote, goddammit. Yeah, we have to. Yeah, he's I know it's the temperament thing that caught your. Yeah, Alex's mutters about temperament. Yes, I'm really struggling with how they're going to do this and what's going to happen and how this is going to work. Crystal says people in herds can be truly stupid. Oh, yes, we do know that, don't we? Oh, we know that. And Shaylin agrees. She says, indeed. Alex is missing the alien food from Pandora at Disney World. I know. I've heard that there's so many things we're all missing. Even though it's open, and I know a lot of people aren't going because they don't feel safe and not willing to risk it. Tara says, love the interaction with Jace and his mom. Yay, I'm so glad. I had at least one member who just couldn't stand my parents. Couldn't stand the parents that I write and was really worried that these would get in the way. Nat says, I and my 13-pound Persian are back from the groomers, nails clipped and smelling good and pissed off, but we manage. I bet the kitty is very angry. They don't like that. They don't like being away from us, and they certainly don't like being touched by other people who they don't want to, who are clipping their nails. All right, well, awesome. I just took another drink there. I think we're going to continue with the second part of chapter 19. And hold on, let me just get back here. He and his mother broke apart. His father brushed by Khoth and went to him and his mother. His father put a hand around the back of his neck and looked at him for long moments, saying nothing. Finally, he said, whatever you see in there, Jace, in that ship, you'll see it with me, Jace told him. Yes, but being there, training is nothing like the reality of flying. his father said and leaned forward, kissing his forehead. If you need us, if you need anything, I'll be okay. I'm going to be helping those people, and we need to see the enemy we face. Jace told him, surprised how certain those words came out, as if he'd been training to fight all his life. You have been, Jace, Gehenna told him. He embraced his parents one last time before turning to the counter where here a Dragavus, a laser pistol, several mines, force field chips to augment the suit's defenses, and something that looked rather like a thumb drive that could be inserted into the cool ship to end the suffering of all those inside. There was no slot, though. It was smooth all around, and simply bringing it into the ship and pressing on the outer casing of the ship's core would unleash destruction. It had been Gehenna's contribution to their kit, but she was also going with them. But just in case something untoward happened to her body, they would have the thumb drive to upload a virus that would, supposedly, be able to take down even a hive's defenses. He easily slatted each piece of equipment in his suit, slung the Rahir and Dragavas over his back, slid the pistol into a side holster before he finally took the drive and put it into a pocket over his heart. Ready to go? Jace asked Khoth, knowing that the Thafel commander was. Khoth gave a brief nod. Jace gave a brief look at each person. His parents gave him watery smiles as they laced their hands together. Thama saluted him in a rather ironic, loose manner, which he doubted was Thafel, but more Top Gun. The general stepped up to him. You're doing a service to those people inside that ship, Jace, General Intashkin said, with a kindness that Jace was surprised by. I've been in combat, and I've also sent soldiers into combat. I will honestly say that it's much harder to do the latter. What you will do, you'll be ending suffering. Jace couldn't quite believe that he would be willing to kill people. Jace couldn't quite believe that he would be killing people in less than 30 minutes. He couldn't quite get his head around it, even as Gehenna told him over and over again that truly all he was doing was saving them from intense pain. It didn't seem real. Maybe it would when he was there. That's why I have to see this. See, so what happened to them doesn't happen to anyone else. That I'll be able to make the hard decisions ahead, because I'll see what awaits anyone the cool capture, Jace told himself. But still, he couldn't quite believe it. He simply nodded to the general and strode over to Khoth, Gehenna, and Thama. So, you sure you don't want to join us, Thama? Jace asked. Go into a cool ship or stay here and check out the Cryptoria too? Let me think. She tapped her right temple. Okay. Just don't snoop around too much. The Osiris is willing to let us see some of its secrets, but not all, Jace reminded her. The Osiris had actually offered to let Thama investigate the hangar bay after releasing the weapons and armor to them. Enjoy yourself, but not too much. Oh yes, I do all things in moderation, Thama assured him. The Slim Jims would suggest otherwise, Khoth replied dryly. A soldier, whose name was William Farmer, stepped up and gave a real salute, though none of them was officially in the U.S. military. I'll be the one driving you to the ships, he said. Thank you. Lead the way, Jace said. Immediately, Gehenna listed off all William Farmer's accomplishments. She also gave him a rundown of his family. Mother was a school teacher, 5th grade, and his father worked as a truck driver. She even offered him William's medical history, his parents' medical history, his grandparents' medical history, and, Gehenna, do we really need to know all this about poor William? He's just driving us about 3 miles, Jace told her as they followed William out of the armory, through some hallways and out of the Osiris itself. Every step he took, he felt the distance from who he had been and who he would be. It feels a little invasive. But he could have a myriad of medical problems that could impact his ability to drive us safely, she informed him. If that happens, you can take over the driving for him, Jace suggested. Gehenna brought 2 of her tentacles together as if rubbing her hands together once more. Really? You'd let me drive? I'll make a deal with you. If dear William keels over from some medical malady, or hell, for whatever reason whatsoever, I give you permission to drive, Jace told her. You can crawl right over William's prone body and grab that wheel. Oh, Jace, you're so silly, Gehenna laughed. I wouldn't have to physically use the steering wheel, brake, and gas pedals. I'll just have the Jeep's computer. Jace's lips twitched. Okay, right, sure. Gehenna hummed happily as they rode up the elevator. They were at the top in seemingly no time. As they stepped out of the elevator, Jace turned to Khoth, who had been holding himself very stiffly. Jace didn't get the sense that Khoth was tense, more that he was preparing himself. This ride took more time when we were going down, Jace said to him. You were dying. Everything felt like forever, Khoth answered. He's right, Gehenna said guiltily. You actually did die for 5 minutes. I don't need to know, Gehenna, Jace interrupted her, not wanting him and dead in the same sentence. My mom was right. I really will have to freak out at some point. Have you ever done this before, Khoth? Jace asked. Only once, Khoth answered. His sister, Gehenna filled in. Oh man, maybe I shouldn't ask him then. But Khoth continued on. When people are taken by the cool, we do not attempt to rescue them. They're already infected and they can pass it on to others, Jace recalled. Yes. And there is no way to cure them. For a long time, we attempted to find a way to stop or reverse the process, Khoth told him, but that only ended up infecting whole cities, sometimes whole planets. Oh my God, Jace breathed. Their conversation was interrupted as William took them, not back the way they'd come to the medical facility, but instead down several corridors that led to a set of doors. The doors took them out onto a tarmac where a jeep waited. There were 2 other soldiers waiting by the jeep. They again saluted. Khoth ignored it while Jace waved awkwardly. William slipped into the driver's seat while Gehenna somehow folded herself into the front passenger seat. William gave a look of horror, but then he rigidly looked forward and pretended that there wasn't a 10-foot-tall metal squid beside him. Jace didn't have the heart to tell her that she was scaring William, even as she tried to communicate with him. William was sweating heavily and gripping the steering wheel with white-knuckled fingers. As the jeep pulled away from the base, Jace looked back towards it. The base looked so unremarkable. A dusty, dry place in the middle of the desert, aircraft hangars that looked rusted and old, battered by the elements, undistinguishable low off-white buildings that looked to have been built in the 1970s dotted the flat plain. Nothing about this place indicated the wonders of the Osiris below. Khoth surprised him by filling the silence, continuing his experience with the infected. We were never able to do anything for the infected, and the cost to even try. Khoth shook his head, and the beads clacked in his hair. So what did you do? What do you do? Jace asked. We destroy the ships. We do not normally go inside. The risk is high, but we should be fine, Khoth said. Why? Jace asked, wondering if he should have asked this before agreeing to go inside the cool ship. The infections are only in the beginning phases at this stage. When they remove them from the vessels to the hives and place them into the tanks to soften their skin, it's when the infection truly takes hold, Khoth explained. Their skin rips at the slightest touch, which releases the larva. I think you can imagine the rest. Yeah, definitely not touching anything inside the ship, Jace said, swallowing bitter bile that rose up in his throat. The hive is the mothership. It is circling Earth right now. Oh, this is like, sorry guys. The hive is the mothership. It is circling Earth right now, Gehenna explained, and showed him the image of a vessel that looked like a wasp nest. Jace's stomach roiled some more. He saw William's shoulders tense as well. William was listening intently, but Jace didn't blame him. He was amazed at how professional the soldiers had been. Aliens, spacecraft, giant metal squids, and whatever he would be considered in the soldiers' eyes. Why haven't the ships returned to the hive? Jace asked. Or do they need pilots? He had killed all the pilots, and he felt even better about that than he had. No, they should return to the hive once full, or when an order is given by the hive, Khoth stated. Gehenna was the one that answered. The Osiris puts out a field that interferes with Cool's vessels. We believe the Osiris is keeping them here, Jace filled in. Okay, makes sense. Oh, man. What? Khoth asked. Jace had caught sight of where they were. Just a few blocks away from the convey. His stomach clenched as he saw the empty streets and signs of the former firefight. He could see the needle-shaped ship that he had passed, along with Sammy and George. He wondered if they were okay. Were they back home, or had the army kept them on base to interrogate them and make sure they wouldn't tell anyone the truth of what had happened? I was just here this morning, Jace said softly, and everything has changed, including me. Khoth surprised him by reaching over and touching the back of his right hand. Even with the armored gloves on, he could feel that touch. Gehenna had twisted around in her seat and was looking down at their hands. Jace felt so grateful for that touch. He looked over at the Thafel commander, but the moment he did, Khoth removed his hand and was staring out the window as if that momentary touch hadn't happened. The jeep's brakes squealed as if in reluctance to stop this close to the still smoking cool ship. The gangway remained down. The inside was filled with a velvety blackness. What was inside there? Were people in agony in there? Was he really going to kill them? "We should have our helmets up and shields engaged," Khoth said after silence fell again. "Also, you should have a weapon handy. The pistol or rapier would be best in such close quarters if there are any cool inside." Jace's mouth went dry. He just nodded. Then the three of them exited the vehicle. "Stay here, William," Jace instructed. William nodded jerkily. He definitely wasn't leaving the jeep. Jace wouldn't have been surprised if he took off back to the base, or simply kept driving until he'd put thousands of miles between himself and the cool ships. Looking at the long, narrow, matte black ships, Jace wanted to do the same, but instead, they were going in. He merely had to think about the helmet closing over his head, and it did it, while Khoth had to touch a part of his suit right over his heart to cause the helmet to come up. Khoth unsheathed his rapier while Jace took out his pistol. His hand was much more steady around it this time. Gehenna twisted to the right and left, her tentacles swaying nervously. "I should go first," Gehenna stated. "I will be able to sense any life signs once we're inside." "You can't sense them from here?" Jace asked. "There is some interference," she answered uncertainly. That worried Jace a bit, but it wouldn't stop him from going inside. After hearing what Khoth said, he didn't want the poor people inside to suffer any longer than they had to. So the three of them approached the gangway. Gehenna glided ahead of them up the metal grating. She disappeared inside the gloom. He could just barely see the lights in her squid head. "Gehenna?" Jace asked, nervous the moment she was inside that ship, and tempted to call her back. There was a little of that electronic fuzzing for a moment which caused him to jerk upright. "Gehenna?" "I'm here." Her voice flickered in and out. "No, cool, just people." "What is it?" Okay, I did this wrong. Hold on a second. Let me just fix this. I love my life. "What is it?" Khoth asked, putting a hand in front of Jace. Jace hadn't realized he had taken 2 steps up the gangway. "There's interference, and I'm having tinnitus again." The high whine of the drill was in his ears. The terror he was backsliding, though, was more easily pushed aside. "I think it's the cool ship." "Should we abort?" Khoth asked. "Should you remain outside?" "It'll never be completely safe," Jace said after a long moment considering this. "I need to go inside. I need to see." Khoth nodded. "You can come in." Gehenna sounded so sad. "I think you should." "Gehenna says it's clear," Jace told him. The two of them then strode up the gangway and stepped into the gloom of the cool ship. For a moment, the whine in Jace's head became deafening, and he saw auras even in the dark. A headache spiked through him, and he nearly went down, but Khoth grabbed his arm. "Jace?" Khoth's voice was threaded with alarm. I'm okay. It's just, I don't know. It's gone now. Passing," Jace said as he managed to keep his feet. Cold sweat coated his face. Something wasn't right. But what was it? This whole place isn't right. Even with the helmet up and purified air rushing into the suit, Jace still smelled, or imagined he smelled, the sharp, metallic bite of blood and pain. Lights on the other side of their helmets switched on automatically, even as Jace was suddenly aware that he had some kind of heat sight as well that was not part of the suit but part of him. But his eyes were fixed on the pods that lined the walls of the cool ship. Only a few dozen of the hundreds were filled. Jace recognized the Naruto runners from earlier that day. Their eyes were open. Their mouths were parted in agony. He saw dark shapes move underneath their skin. He only got out, "They're alive! They're really alive!" before the light from the ship's doorway was cut off as the door slid shut. Then the cool ship engines rumbled to life. Okay, that is the end of chapter 19. Need a drink here. I'm back to see what you guys are saying. Okay. Let's see here. I'm going back up. Hold on. Sorry, there's a lot of stuff. This is so cool. I'm gonna try to find. Okay. What do we got here? So Shaylinda says, has there been any update for alien polls? Not yet. We still have a long ways to go before they actually get to that point. So I want it to be fresher rather than having to search through old blog posts. So they're coming. Alex says, I've got lemon lime seltzer today, but I dreamed of Fresca. I know, there's like, God. I can't get squirt. I can't get that squirt no matter what I do. I really am so sad. Shaylinda says, I have mine written down and my Kindle case is keeping it safe. All right. Laura says, I just have water and Lay's. Still delicious. Alex says, so this tiny chip sure is potent. It is. It very much is. Marina's talking about corsets. Were worn for hundreds of years, and they are meant to give a body a little shaping to achieve the style that is in vogue in the period. Just like we wore shoulder pads in the 80s, yes, I remember that, to make that power suit look. They were abused in the late life of the corset by valuing an unhealthy and unreasonable body shape that forced normal-bodied females into shapes that didn't allow them to breathe. This is tight lacing. Wearing a corset and wearing one properly also implies that you can move and breathe in it. Tight lacing is what you needed a fainting couch for and has never been healthy. Tight lacing, should it be desired, should be carefully monitored only for short periods and in general be second thought. Stay healthy. Your shape is as sexy as it is, my dearest ladies and lords. Very nice. Kitty says, also, weren't they meant to help hold the weight of the clothes? Marina says, usually not, but I'm not a fashion historian. I only follow one on YouTube, and she has preferred eras of focus. Very nice. Sophie says, I've already said this many times, but I love Gehenna. I love Gehenna too. Alex says, Gehenna is a gas. She really is. I mean, I think someone in a comment said that they pictured her like behind the wheel of the Jeep, like driving wildly over the desert, like, you know, them going airborne, and I could totally see it. Marina says the person she watches is Bernadette Banner. Shaylin is like, yes, that Gehenna's a gas. Laura says, Gehenna is freaking awesome. I do have a soft spot for Osiris, to be honest. I do too. I think the Osiris is really interesting. Marina says, I'm interested in a possible personality in Khoth's ship. Yeah, there does seem to be something there, doesn't it? That showed him Hassian and all this kind of stuff. Crystal says, is it a good idea to leave the general and his scientists in the armory unsupervised? That is a really good question, except they're not unsupervised as the Osiris is watching them and will not allow them to get into any mischief. Myra asks, can I ask what inspires the name choices for the characters? I started to wonder this a while back, but really wondered when I saw Gehenna's name. Every time I hear her name, I think of the anime manga Blue Exorcist. There are two ways this name's come to me. Gehenna's especially came to me just out of nowhere. It sounded right for her, even though I knew it honestly has such wild connotations. And the truth is, it just seems to be really good based on the backstory that's developing for her and what that might be considered and why she chose that name for herself, even though she's adorable. But there's reasons. Other times, I honestly will try to find names with meanings behind them that will reflect the character. But Gehenna was just something that came into my head and later had the right meaning, but other ones have not. And I've also looked for, there feels like there's a natural name for the type of character I'm going for. Like Jace, he feels like a Jace to me. And Khoth definitely feels like a Khoth. Like it's just, you know, I use a lot though for a lot of things like a fantasy name generator. They do everything. If you go to that fantasynamegenerator.com, they have everything you can think of. Aliens, animals, languages, empires. It's awesome and it helps so much. I mean, I just look for something that speaks to me. Kelly is back. Hello, Kelly. Lo says, Osiris won't let them do anything they shouldn't. And that's replying to Crystal, who was worried about the general being basically alone with the scientists in the armory. Tara says, "You make the most gross enemies. Yuck, you, the larva." I know. Alien and aliens really have influenced a lot of my writing for the horror aspect, as well as H.P. Lovecraft and a bunch of other things. But I honestly feel that they are masterpieces in science fiction and horror. And I know a lot of people, if you were to say, "Oh, do you read horror?" they'd say no. But I do. There's a lot of horror in Raythe and stuff, which sounds really crazy. But if you really think about the Dark Earth, for example, or just a lot of this stuff that happens, there's a horror, scary element that's fun. Aniko says, "Laugh out loud. William is wonderful. P.S. So glad to be here. I get to listen with no distractions. This is my birthday. Happy birthday! Thank you." Kat responded back to Marina regarding the corsets. Cool. She didn't know that. Alice says, "I was listening to the previous episodes on YouTube, and I just wanted to say I really appreciate you doing this. I love learning the little things about your process between the episodes and the banter with the comments." Me too. I can't say enough without it sounding really like syrupy or something, but you guys are what inspire me and what make me happy. I love to write, but writing is for most authors, it's a very alone process. For me, it's not. And I get to literally put up my stuff and hear back from people and get to talk to people about it, what I was thinking, what they were thinking. And I get so inspired by what people suggest, to be perfectly honest. And I know what's missing. And that's why, honestly, when I do the individual books, I actually feel sort of like I'm searching around in the dark a little bit. Yes, I have a lot more time to improve the prose, to really make it pop, to be very tight. And I think that's very obvious in Cinders and Ashes. That's very, very tight. But at the same time, not being able to pressure check the story with readers right as it's being made makes me feel uneasy. I don't like it as much. It's harder. It's much harder work. Raythe Rain is more like, let me explode with my ideas and then hear what you guys think. We're going to make it better next time. It's going to be awesome. Versus the book thing is like slog, that sort of stuff. So I'm so glad that you're enjoying it, Alice. Lo says, happy birthday to Aniko. Happy birthday again. Deltas Matt says, do we know what kind of beads Khoth has in his hair that clacks? Cosmetic or functional? And will Jace learn to braid hair? Yes, we do. There's actually a description of these. They are the cell sheet, and they are actually there to represent his family's station in terms of where they are. So yes, I really should put like some kind of like encyclopedia for that story, because it'll make it easier for people to go back if they'd like to go back. And then what I really could do, if I was really good, would be honestly to highlight those words and link them to the encyclopedia, so that if you saw a word you did not recognize, like Z or za, or wanted to reflect on that, that might be a good thing to do. We will see if I am that ambitious and that it works. Another happy birthday to Aniko. Aniko says, thank you. Sophie's quoting Khoth. We should be fine, Khoth said. Yeah, poor Khoth doesn't realize it's Raythe writing the story. Raythe and her love for scary, disgusting giant insects. Indeed, and flying snakes and, laser guns and all this kind of stuff. Kelly says, we'll have to watch on YouTube as computer is revolting on me. See you next time. I'm sorry, Kelly, that bums out. Laura says, happy birthday, and does a little Feliz Cumpleaños. And Aniko says, thank you. Tara's like, I'm with William, not interested in a closer investigation. I know. I don't think I could have forced myself inside that ship. Pam also says happy birthday. Aniko again says thanks. Marina says, that's actually something that is a mistake in future chapters. It lists as the suit having heat vision capabilities. I know. I actually wanted to fix that, because the suit does have heat vision. But Jace himself does not need the suit to do that. Because of the changes in him. So it's not really a mistake. It's me not explaining that both of them have this ability through the suit. But I should actually probably fix that in this chapter and just remove it. Laura says, eek, larva suck. And Sheila says, and curse strikes again. 2 customers this time. Oh no. Matt says Amazon sells squirt. Does they sell diet squirt? All right, because if they do, I'm going to go order like cases of it because it's just not been at the Jewel. I'm really annoyed. And for all of you who work at supermarkets and do that stuff, I salute you. Lo says, I haven't read the latest chapters yet because I've been so entrenched in Cinders and Ashes. So this next chapter will be new for me. Nice. All right. And so much has happened. And I so hope Cinders and Ashes. And of course, the TNA is so awesome, right? She actually, I'm saying she, but you might be a he, forgive me. They actually have helped, I think edit every book probably since Vampires Club 1. Yeah. Aniko does a lot of that. So another person that's just like, so if you do a really good job, I always keep people on as well as bring in new. Yes. Let's see here. For those who like sparkling water, try Waterloo Grape Sparkling Water. It has the aftertaste of grape soda, but it's just water. I used to love Sunkist grape soda, but it's too high in sugar now. I know I can only drink diet stuff, but I know the chemicals are bad. I know all of you are going to say it. Laura says, I noticed the H.P. Lovecraft with The Fall and the Merman hugely into that. H.P. Lovecraft is very problematic. He was a huge and terrible racist. I think of him as a sad little man. And the thing is, though, I do take from him what I find useful. But he is, I'm going to watch the new Lovecraft Country, which looks very good. But I just want everyone to know that I recognize that he is incredibly problematic. Incredibly problematic. It's not just he wasn't just, when you go back to the good old days, like everybody was racist. And I know that, but he was like to an extent that's sort of, it's like pathological. Like he was crazy. People at his time argued with him about it. They thought he was just out of his mind about it. Okay. Shaylina, my birthday was 6 days ago. My little sister's was 5. My best friend's was 3. And my niece's is today. August is a busy birthday month for me. What, it was 9 months before August. So when everyone was getting it on, man. Alex says, yes, you absolutely need an encyclopedia. Yeah, I know. It really does need it. It's going to be a huge story too. So maybe, I don't know. If anyone wants to collect all the words that you're seeing, then I can put it back. I definitely could create. I've got my own encyclopedia, so I could probably create that. It's just the linking back. I don't think I have time to do. So Lo says to Shaylina, collective happy birthday to you and your family. Lo says thank you. Aniko says happy birthday to you and your family. August is the best. Alex says, I vastly prefer Fresca to Squirt. They simply don't compare. There's Diet Fresca, isn't there? If there is, I haven't had it in a long time. Matt says, yes, they sell Diet Squirt too, ... Thank you, Matt. I love you. I so appreciate that. Crystal says, yes, it is. My mother, oldest son, and sister-in-law are all August birthdays. Second son's anniversary as well. Actually, my best friend Chris's birthday is this month, as is my brother Michael's, my older brother Michael's. And Annika says, my pronouns are she, her. Yes, I've been editing since Vampires Club 1 for all your books. Loving it. You inspired me to become a copy editor. Oh my gosh. There we go. Well, it's so funny because Annika puts in like, if then statements. She like educates me. And so I'm getting a little better at the comma thing, but not really. Okay. Shaylina says, the comment thread won't let me go back and didn't catch the name, but it was somebody else's birthday. So happy birthday to that person too. Yeah, we're getting a lot of comments this time, which is great. Marina's in December. Aniko says, that's so cool. Happy birthday to them as well. Birthdays are so awesome. They really are. Birthdays are wonderful. Unfortunately, mine was March 25th this year when we shut down, and I met my friends in the park and we socially distanced and drank some champagne. But we normally would go down to a beautiful hotel in downtown Chicago and do an overnight with a fancy dinner and a fancy brunch the next day. December is when people get cozy and they make babies. And Marina just said that. And Aniko says, ooh, I'll do an encyclopedia if that's all right with you, Raythe. Yes. Yes, it is more than all right with me. I am more than happy to have that. done by someone else, because I seem to be the logjam of many good projects that are just taking forever. Alexandra says, any thoughts on adding a fan art submission form link? You can do fan art or at any point in time. We are more than happy to show it off, especially in the newsletters that come out once a week. Once a week. Yeah, that's the cat's like, what are you talking about? Once a month. So you can definitely send them all to Kat at the marketing@raytherain.com. Saya says, my birthday is on the 25th. August really is the best. My God, all your parents just woohoo. Hannah says, maybe put an encyclopedia page link on the story's main page. That way it's easy to get to and you don't have to link back. That's a good idea. And Aniko says, happy birthday to Saya. All right. So I guess I should, now with all the birthday wishes, I am going to turn us to 20. I'm going to turn us to 20, but let me take another drink of Diet Coke. I think I need to refresh. You guys go refresh your drinks. I need to refresh mine, actually, because otherwise I'm going to be dying during this thing. Let's see how big this chapter is. It's only 3,500 words, so it's not too bad. It's probably two. But just hold on. Need to get more Diet Coke. Love you all. Okay. Making sure everyone's settled. Victor, no problem about being late. We're just starting chapter 20. You're starting chapter 20 now, my friends. Remember, you can ask questions all while I'm reading. I will come back and I will answer them. Okay. Chapter 20. The Plan. Gehenna, what the hell is going on? Jace's voice came from behind Khoth. It was surprisingly controlled, but there was an edge to it. Over the heads-up display, HUD, of his helmet, Khoth saw Gehenna's response. I don't know. It's unclear if the Osiris has lost control of its blocking of the Hive ship, or, Khoth asked. The cursor blinked for a long moment, and then, or the Osiris has allowed this ship to take off. What? Now Jace's voice was a trace shrill. Why would it do that? It wasn't Gehenna who answered, but Khoth. Because it wants us to destroy the Hive. That was the only logical explanation. From what he could tell, the Osiris was meant to battle. His sister's journals suggested that the faction that had likely made it had determined that offensive action against the Cool was the best way to end the conflict. So what better way now than sending up the pilot, an Alliance soldier, and a cleaning bot to destroy a Hive? It wouldn't do that. It wouldn't... Would it? Oh... It kept talking about the mission or something. Maybe that's this, but damn it, Jace groaned. I've lost the signal to the folks on the ground. I can't reach anyone. Can either of you? No, the Osiris may be blocking that too, or it may be the Hive. Gehenna spun her tentacles around her like a dress in her anxiety. I cannot tell. I will need to dive deeper into this to determine what is going on. Khoth believed it was very likely that she would only figure it out much too late. They had to act now. Thumma, Flight Commander Thumma, come in, Khoth commanded. But there was no answer. Osiris, damn it, you can hear me. I know you can, Jace was shouting, threatening the ship's strange AI. But Khoth knew that regardless of who or what had done this, there was only one solution. If they were going to get back to Earth, they had to do it by themselves. He started moving. Khoth? Jace called, a little panicked. Where are you going? He heard the clunk of Jace's boots in the middle floor of the cool ship. To the cockpit of the ship. We need to take control of it and pilot it back to Earth, Khoth answered, even as he began moving. Going to the hive is death. Yeah, good idea to go home. Bad idea to go towards death, Jace said, and Khoth was pleased to hear how Jace was controlling his breathing and focusing on the mission. Yes, exactly. Khoth began threading his way between unknown machinery towards what appears to be a ladder. The cockpit, as he called from training, was in the bowels of the ship, not the tip, so they should go down. Do you know where the cockpit is? Jace asked. Down, Khoth answered briskly. Do you know how to fly the ship? Jace asked. Khoth's progress slowed slightly. No, but Well, I do, Jace said, sounding slightly triumphant. We trained on this, Gehenna excitedly exclaimed. She was following after them, tucking her tentacles close in as possible, as if she was frightened by being infected by the cool larva, even though that was impossible in any form she took unless it was organic. The cleaning bot body was not in any danger. Yeah, we did, Jace agreed with her. And I remember you thinking it was maybe overkill to think I'd ever be piloting a cool ship, but I was like, I want to pilot everything. Your enthusiasm for flying has paid off, Khoth stated, feeling genuine relief. That is an excellent thing. I will still go first to the cockpit in case. Ugh! Jace's scream had him whirling around, Rahir brought up for a strike, when he realized that there was no cool there to be struck down. Jace was looking into the clear faceplate of one of the pods, into the wide, open eyes of one of the humans. It was a woman. He gauged her age to be somewhere around Jace's. She had blonde hair that was slicked back from her head. The humans were encased in a kind of gel that started the softening process to make them easily digestible for the larva. There was a hose that pumped air into the humans' lungs. The hose was shoved down their throats, and a harder gel substance closed over the mouth and nose. The gel glowed a phosphorescent green. Through the translucent material, the humans' eyes were a muddy color, but they were awake, alert, and full of agony and fear. She's conscious, Jace breathed. Not just alive, but aware. Yes. Khoth's voice was thick, full of emotion, as Dace's face, which had had the same expression, flashed before his mind. No, not her. No, not the same. Hers had been one of knowledge. She had known what awaited her. This young woman only knew an unreasoning terror. Hold on one second. Just gotta fix something here. Okay. This young woman only knew an unreasoning terror. She undoubtedly felt the larva moving underneath her skin, separating it from the fat and muscle and bone. Larvae would be nesting and growing in her organs too, but not large enough yet to cause the large cysts that would burst and release them. There was a muffled sound. It was coming from the young woman. She was trying to talk, or perhaps scream, around the tube that kept her alive in the gel. We've got to get her out of there, Jace cried, and his hands were going towards the release controls, a simple lever that would drain the gel and discharge the body from the pod. No! Khoth grabbed Jace, wrapping his arms around Jace's body, pinning Jace's arms to his sides in a terrific bear hug. Jace went rigid before he started to fight, thrashing and kicking and full of indignation and anger. What are you doing? Jace shouted. Let me go, Khoth. She's in agony. We have to set her free, but not in this way, remember? Khoth asked softly. We cannot let her out of the pod. We cannot touch her. She is infected. There is only one method to aid her, and it is not this one. Jace's hard bodysuit didn't allow him to feel Jace's muscles go limp, but the young man stopped moving and sagged forward in his arms. He could hear Jace's breathing, hard gasps, even though he hadn't truly been exerting himself over their calm. There was nothing else. No words, no crying, just deep, deep breaths as Jace tried to control his Z and Za. Khoth let him alone to do it, offering only the strength of his arms to hold the young man up. When he was certain that Jace would not go for the lever again, Khoth released him and took one step away, just in case. You were right, Mother. Bringing Jace here, showing him this, was the way to motivate him to fight. Khoth thought with almost despair. He will never forget this. It is being seared into his memory with every waking second. The young woman's eyes were bugging out of her head then as she realized that Jace wasn't going to let her out. They were wide with pleading, wide with pain. Jace did not look away, and neither did Khoth. They both needed to see what they were fighting for, even him. If they looked away, that would be cowardice. At least they could offer her their attention, even if she believed that they were abandoning her. Diet Coke break there. All right. 3 larvae, black squiggles beneath the young woman's skin, slithered up her right cheek and then dove deep, going through an opening in her skull to nest in her brain. She jerked and shuddered as they disappeared. Her eyes rolled into the back of her head as if she were having a fit. She collapsed forward, floating and unconscious, and then her head lolled back on her neck like a too heavy flower on a too slender stem. Her right eye was now black as larvae circled within it. Khoth's stomach churned. He heard a sharp intake of breath from Jace. He reached up to touch his own skin and thankfully found instead the closed helmet. Yet he still imagined the wiggling sensation under his own flesh. Gehenna, Jace said, his voice cracked with anguish and rage. Well, Khoth and I take control of this ship. I want you to end these people's suffering. Can you do that? Yes, Jace, Gehenna answered, and Khoth could hear that her tone was small and sad. Khoth must have made a slight movement because Jace turned towards him. What is it, Khoth? It will be safer if we eject the bodies into space after Gehenna is done, Khoth said, rather than return with them to Earth. I fear your general in Toshkin may not heed our warnings about the dangers of performing autopsies on the bodies. Jace nodded jerkily. Yes, you're right about both things. He will think we're smarter and can handle this better than the Alliance, or he'll think it's just worth the risk to know what we're up against. I believe you know enough about what we are up against. Do you not agree? Khoth asked quietly. Jace nodded again. Some part of me wishes. With the Osiris's greater technology. While I have not viewed all of the Osiris's databanks, I have found no indication that its function is anything other than a warcraft, Gehenna stated. Don't you know more about it? Weren't you created by warring factions of precursors or something? Jace asked her. A few long seconds ticked by before she answered. It is more complicated than that. I do not believe we have time to discuss it. We are already in orbit. Jace jerked as if struck, and his heart rate increased, as did Khoth's. Well, we will discuss it, Gehenna. Yes, Jace, she answered, but was already moving in another direction towards the core, ostensibly, while the two of them started again towards the shaft with handholds that resembled a ladder. Jace braced his feet and hands on the outside of the rails. All the way at the bottom, right? Jace asked. Yes, Khoth confirmed. He had a feeling that Jace knew better than he did where the cockpit was. He had only his memories, while Jace had the AI, but just as he thought that, there was a little bubble from Gehenna on his HUD saying FYI and giving him the schematics of the ship. He thanked her, which got him a floating smiley face in return. He shook his head. Gehenna was different. He wondered what her makers had intended her to be or do. Perhaps she was just a prototype model, one that had failed. Yet she had been imprisoned within the Osiris, so that indicated she was dangerous, unless the Osiris had simply trapped her in there itself. Too many possibilities, Khoth mused. What we must get to the bottom of her and the Osiris's origins so that we can control them instead of them controlling us. Jace slid down the ladder and Khoth followed him. They went down 3 levels. Jace's boots squeaked against the rails as he tightened his grip to slow his descent. Khoth did the same so that they didn't end up on top of one another. As soon as Jace had cleared the bottom, Khoth slid the rest of the way. Wow. I really don't want to touch this, Jace was saying. I don't want to touch anything. It looks slimy. The young man was looking at a U-shaped control console that wasn't metal, but appeared to be made of a segmented chitin. He realized as his suit scanned the ship that what he had been assuming was calcanth or some variation thereof was not, but more of this organic chitin. He recalled faintly from VI training that cool ships were potentially grown as opposed to built. But since on a cycle-to-cycle basis, he hadn't had to worry about what the cool ships were made of. The precursor weapons took them down regardless. He had filed that information away in the deep recesses of his brain. He had been so emotionally compromised when he'd gone after Desa that he hadn't even noticed this fact back then. Now, the skin between his shoulder blades crawled, and he wished he remembered that training better. They grow this, Jace was saying as he gestured around them. Out in deep space, they... Jace shuddered. The cool we've seen are the only ones there are. There are others that use organic material to adjust them and secrete this and other things. All the components, all the structures, everything we see came from one of them. Khoth nodded slowly. In the early days, when the cool ships were examined, it was theorized that they were organic, at least their interiors were, and then they were cloaked in calcanth. I would be amazed by what they do, but since they're just out to turn us into sludge to be used for their purposes, I'm just going to say that this is gross, Jace said. Khoth snorted. I tend to agree. There was no seat before the U-shaped control console. The cool were too large for this, and their bodies were not made for sitting in chairs. Jace would have to lean forward considerably to adjust many of the controls that appeared to be joysticks made of flexible chitin pieces that glistened with a layer of slime. Jace suddenly pulled his arms close to his sides. His breathing was erratic again. Jace. Khoth came up behind him and placed a hand on Jace's left shoulder. What is it? Swallowing hard between every word as if trying not to be sick, Jace asked, Did you know that there are pipes or tubes or veins or whatever throughout the ship filled with the larvae? Khoth froze and his gaze swept the windowless space. It was ovoid and the walls were crosshatched with what he had thought was a design, but now thought differently, but managed to say, No. But that is all the more reason to get control of this vessel. For if this ship is full of larvae, the hive will be full of larvae and fully grown cool. Right. Absolutely right. Okay, let me take a little break there. Let's see what's going on in the chat. And some more Diet Coke to wet the whistle. See what we got going on here. Okay, so everyone's talking about how in December a lot of couples got very busy. And Aniko goes, how festive the cold can be. Very true. And Alex says, the frantic rubbing of bodies generates warmth. Very true. Myra says, talking about drinks, finally got my Big Red. Woohoo! Is Big Red, is it cinnamon? More cinnamon flavored? I'm curious. Sophie says, too many larvas, not enough kisses. I don't think I'd want to be kissing in the cool ship. Shaylin agrees, though. Delsa's Matt says, hearing it read, shudder. Yeah, I know. Crystal said, did anyone else just totally lose their appetite? Sophie says, thankfully, I've already had dinner. Lo says, yeah, definitely never watching the movie version of this story. Shivers. Alex now doing a little ditty. The worms crawl in, the worms crawl out. Okay, now you're creeping me out, man. You're creeping me out. Myra says, oh man, that scene is so unsettling to hear. I am dreading the ones later on, to be honest with you. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, holy shit. Oh boy. Tara says, yep, I can't deal with anything that messes with eyeballs, like the larva moving within. Shudder. Shaylina, I laugh out loud, floating smiley face. Yeah, Gehenna's got to make things a little like, she's got to be the comic relief. Aniko says, well, I am super horrified at what's happening to the humans in the pods. I like these realistic, gross scenes because of the gravity it adds to your stories. Thank you. I'm really trying to make it, how shall I put it? I Tantalos actually had a really good comment and a description of the cool and why they are so offensive to us on a deep level. And it's not even a sense of malevolence. It's because they simply do not, they think in such a way that can never be reasoned with, ever. What they're doing is they will just do it because this is what they're made to do, and we are seen as food, fuel, and ship material. Sophie says, oh yeah, for sure. It really adds to the story and it makes me very invested in the fight to destroy those things. That's exactly it. I want there to be an implacable enemy. There will be also other enemies, but there is no doubt that the cool must be stopped. Aniko says, I wonder if Gehenna used to be biologically alive before being imprisoned in the Osiris. Oh, that's a good question. Alex says, my OCD is bothering me again. Raythe, did the probe that Jace used to unleash Metal Rain return to the Osiris, or can the Osiris at least make a new one, or does it have more than one? I always envisioned it returning to the Osiris and that there is more than one. That it has to be reloaded. It has to be recharged. Tara just says, insects. I know. I have this. Insects are very good for this world, but I am with you. I am not really. I'm like, yeah, I know. I totally know. Yeah. Okay, so shall we return to the second part of chapter 20? His words had broken Jace from his horrified paralysis. The young man went over to the controls and, with an expertness that Khoth found quite impressive, started to manipulate the switches and levers as if he had been doing so all his life. Cool language and red pictographs appeared on formerly blank spaces on the console. The cool language had been difficult to decipher, and even now it was believed that they were not fully understanding the deeper nuances of it, as the cool's insectile brains were far different than most of the species in the Alliance. But Jace, at least insofar as those pictographs used on the ship, appeared to have no difficulty at all. Okay, I think I figured out how to shut off the autopilot here, Jace was saying, nodding his head in satisfaction. Ah, got it. Yes, oh. What oh? That does not sound like a positive thing, Khoth asked. A screen flickered to life in front of the console. It showed what was happening outside of the craft. They were in orbit around Earth. The planet glowed beckoningly below them. It was admittedly beautiful with its blue and white swirls, but it was far away. Ahead of them, however, was the hive. It was far closer than Khoth had ever feared it would be. That's not a moon, Jace whispered with a trace of hysterical awe in his voice. That's a space station. What do you mean? Khoth frowned. That is not a space station. That is a hive. I know. It's a movie reference, so forget it. It's too hard to explain, Jace says. Moon, space station, or hive, we are too damn close to it. Does the hive have weapons? Oh, of course it does. But they're not aimed at us as far as I can tell. No, they do not want to lose their cargo, Khoth gasped and his gut twisted. The hive was structured as a stretched circle, long on the sides and narrower at the bottom, with large regular circular indentations all over the outside. The comparison to an Earth's wasp nest was incredibly apt. They even were the brownish color that such nests were, but this nest was 100 times the size of the needle ship they were on. The hive loomed before them as they flew ever closer to it. Can you tell if they are aware of us? Khoth asked, imagining the Cool scanning them right at that moment. Even if the Cool realized they were there, they wouldn't simply destroy the ship. One pilot, one Alliance soldier, and a cleaning bot would not be considered a threat. They would simply bring the ship inside of the hive and meet them with overwhelming force. Then Jace and Khoth would be in pods, softening and screaming with tubes stuck down their throats. I will kill Jace and myself before they take us, Khoth thought with sudden clarity. He had no desire to die. He wanted to live. He wanted to fight and win. Jace was a marvel, and that he should die after just showing them endless possibilities seemed pointless. I should not have brought him here, Khoth thought as well. He had believed that it was safe, relatively safe, but it had not turned out that way. by insisting that Jace come along, and then by not objecting to it when the young man enthusiastically agreed. Khoth had been handing the Cool the secrets of the Osiris. I'm going to have to kill us both. Khoth's hand went to the hilt of the Rahir. I'm going to have to. Shit! They're scanning us! Jace cried. His hands danced over the controls. Gehenna, shut that scanner down or cloak us. Do something. I've cloaked our signatures to make us seem like we are cargo, she said briskly. Khoth drew in a relieved breath, and his hand dropped again. But this was only a temporary reprieve. We are going to be cargo if we do not get out of here, Khoth reminded them both. Can you not pilot us away from the hive? Jace's hands moved over the controls like darting birds. I'm trying, but shit! We're in a tractor beam! Jace let out a hysterical laugh. Of course we're in a goddamn tractor beam. Is the ship not powerful enough to break free? Khoth already knew the answer, and if Jace even attempted it, the Cool would know they were inside. No, it is most definitely not, Jace told him, and shuddered. They both watched as one of the indented spots on the surface of the hive opened, and the ship they were on was pulled into it. I will do this quickly. I will not let Jace suffer. Khoth thought as he realized now that they were going into the hive and there was no chance of escape. I will not let the Cool have the information we possess. Khoth silently closed a hand around the Rahir's hilt and was about to unsheath it. The armor was formidable. He would have to convince Jace to retract his helmet, and then... I've got a plan, Jace shouted. Gehenna, can you keep up the cloaking once we enter the hive? Yes, I can, she answered. All right. The screen before them split in two. One side was the image of them being swallowed by the hive, while the other was showing them both schematics of the ship they were on. Jace suddenly pointed to one area that looked to be a slender space hidden behind some of the tanks. We can hide there, Jace said. And then? Khoth asked. And then we take this. Jace held up the chip that was to destroy the human pods, and we sneak it to the core of the hive. It can be programmed to destroy the hive itself. Then we sneak back to this ship, and in the commotion and hubbub, we get the hell out of Dodge. Gehenna will stay here and make sure our getaway is clear. Khoth regarded him. This is a very risky plan. I calculate our odds of success are... I don't care what they are. Jace held up a hand. Because it seems to me we have two choices. We attempt this and get away, or you cut off my head like you've been thinking this past 5 minutes. Khoth blinked. You knew. Of course, Jace said with a small smile. You wouldn't want me to suffer, and you definitely can't let what I know get into the hands of the Cool. Khoth blinked again. You showed no awareness. Because if this doesn't work... Khoth, I want you to kill me, Jace said with seriousness. Then, with a flash of a grin, but not just yet. Okay, that's the end of chapter 20. I can't believe it. That is, yeah. Obviously, I was very, very inspired by that scene when they come, when the Millennium Falcon comes in Star Wars A New Hope and encounters the Death Star and is brought into the Death Star by a tractor beam. So I was very, Olivia says cargo, the humans, the human cargo. Marina says, the constant Star Wars references are delightful, especially when Khoth gets so confused. I know. He's like, what are you talking about? The reason I use a lot of those, because in all honesty, I think of Jace as one of us, like somebody who loves this stuff and would love to be a part of that. And, obviously it's fiction, fantasy, but even so, I just think that it's something that we would all be saying and thinking about. Olivia says, maybe Khoth just knows Star Trek references. Oh, don't you worry. We're going to have more of those because he's definitely Spock. Alex says, you need to feel the Force, Khoth. I suspect that's in a later chapter. The one with space penis. Oh, yes. We're going to have space penis. Tara says, Khoth's protective instincts are sweet. They are, even as he's planning to cut off Jace's head. And the funny thing was, when I wrote this chapter, I really didn't think about the fact that Jace would be like, my God, you're trying to kill me, because it was done with such love. As Hannah said, he would have cut his head off with love. But then one of the members pointed out, it's like, wow, he's really in tune with Khoth, that he's not like worried about Khoth cutting his head off and like being worried. I'm like, oh, I've got to fix that a little bit. Aniko says, laugh out loud. He'll feel the penis force. Yes, there is a penis force. Tara says, never tell me the odds. Exactly. That's exactly it. Never tell me the odds, because that's done a lot with IC3PO. Myra says, nope, no cinnamon. It was originally supposed to be a cream type soda back when it was created. This is Big Red, back in the 30s, but it's wonderfully sweet and delicious. Some says it smells and tastes like bubble gum. Yum. It's a shame that not everyone gets to taste its awesomeness. That's right. It's not everywhere. I think is it only in the South? I don't know. It's not in the Midwest, I don't think. Sophie says, thanks for reading. I love these live readings and discussing with you and everyone. I do too. I love it. Marina says, so many Star Wars references. Oh, there will be more. We're going to do a little bit more Star Trek. And I think we're going to have some Indiana Jones in there. Like, there we go. In any event, guys, this was a blast. Like always, we will be doing 2 more chapters next week. So do look forward to those. I just can't wait to talk with you all again. There is another chapter for Empire of Stars this month on Sunday. So we get to be a little bit further along. Hopefully we'll get to see them, escape the hive. That's not a spoiler. I think the story cannot very well end here. It will never end here. But so we've got basically a lot of fun coming up in terms of what's going to happen with them. I'm so happy about this. I'm so happy to have all of you. So here we go. People are just saying, yep, I'm in the South. I'm in Texas, so that's where Big Red is. Tara says, love it. Sophie says, won't be able to come next week to live reading. Oh, yes. Listen to it on YouTube. Oh, my God. India's great. Indiana. Yay. Always a pleasure hearing you read. Thank you. Lurleen says, thanks, Raythe. Glad for the next chapter. Sai says, thank you for the reading. I'm loving this. Always looking forward to it too much. Must go to bed now. It's like 5:23. Oh, my God. Go to bed, my dear. Pam says, thank you so much. It was awesome. Crystal says, love this. Do much. Can't wait till next week. Alex says, see you soon. Annika says, so excited for the next reading. And remember, all of you, to grab your copy of Cinders and Ashes if you are members for free. That is part of your membership, and I would love you to have it. Those of you not part of the membership, it is available for $2.99 on August 20th, or you can read it for free or part of your program in KU. Anyway, I love you all. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your Saturday or Sunday. Take care, guys. Bye.